My thing was I was always like early or I'm on time. And for whatever reason, doesn't bother me. He was always like 5-10 minutes late.
Yeah.
We're training at 10. He's always there at 10:10. I could care less, but like for me, I had to be on time or I always want to be early. That's just, I don't know, my mindset or whatever. But there were, like you're saying, 9 out of 10 times or something, he could come in and he's just, it wasn't, hey, how's it going? He's just speed walking straight for the bathroom because he's got to go. Because he doesn't have a large intestine. And so if like you ate something that maybe would just make my stomach gargle or something, it was like right out the exit.
Yeah, I mean, when we came here, it made it easier because the bathroom was right there. I mean, the other was like way out there, so I always knew I had to keep that door open to the office because it could be a couple times in one session.
Yeah, we could be, like you're saying, you could be training, and he's like, gotta go.
Yeah,
and it was just, I'm going to the bathroom. Like you just.
I did want to hit this one thing from the last question of how he is off camera. I think one thing that no one really got to see is how excited he was about certain videos. So I remember there was, I was telling this earlier, there was this one video, and I think people would probably know what it is, but it was a leg day video with Sonny, came in, and Teresa. And he was like, I'm going to say the secret to getting big legs, and then I'm going to step in front of the fan so you can't hear me.
That's a good one.
He was so excited to do that video, to do that part. And it's like to someone that might just be like, yeah, we're going to do this. And be like, okay. But he was like so excited. He's like, the followers are going to love this and that. So I was like, man, that's like, it's not like he's just doing it for a show. He like really loved it.
No, he had the humor of a child.
Yeah.
Like Ultimate Warrior.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
He was like, I got this thing and I'm going to put the mask on. I'm going to like whack somebody with a chair. And I'm like, John, that's stupid, man.
But
like, no, this is the greatest thing. Wait till you see me do it, And it's like, oh my God.
But he put that mask on and he looked like him.
I know.
Man.
Wait a second.
Yeah. I mean, he would, like you said, he would plan this all out. And it's like the fan thing. I remember that. He was, and there was something all the time. It's just his personality was, he had that side, which was just quirky.
Yeah. How about, okay, so now we're talking about quirky, John. How about like you could laugh at the shoes he would wear? How about when he had that phase where he's wearing the tank tops over the shirt?
Yeah. And the more you made fun of it, the more he would do it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, no, this is great. This is like Rocky.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, put on the Rocky montage, for training. They're like, well, like what one? And he knew Rocky. The Drago one, the one where Drago's running around the thing. We need that on, It's just it's all those kind of things would just always kind of like come up, and you're just the innocence almost, right?
Yes,
like the innocence of a child in that aspect, which was great because you don't see that. I don't think I've seen that anymore.
And his shoes, like people would, like on the YouTube videos, the more recent one, or maybe it was Instagram, I don't know, both. They'd be like, I don't know, he had like the new Air Force Ones or something. We'd be like, oh man, where'd you get those shoes? I love that color scheme. He'd be like, I don't know. He's like, I went in and asked the kid, what are some cool shoes?
I know. He didn't know.
He didn't have a cool.
Yeah, exactly.
He never had a cool.
And then they looked new for like a week. Then they're like all worn out, but I'd make fun of him for his shoes too, because people would ask him stuff like that.
He would wear them until like they busted out from like the calf training. And then it was like, oh, I got to find some new shoes. And then it would be like 2 weeks later, John, I think we're getting new shoes. Like you can see his big toe like hanging out the shoe practically.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think he was buying some of them just for YouTube, to be able to create the conversations and stuff like that. This one here, I think we already kind of touched on, but what do you think John was most proud of? Now, we'll just take Mary and the kids aside.
Yeah, I was going to say the kids right away. Oh, God.
Yeah.
It has to be the pro card, right?
I'm going to say it's the football team.
Well,
yeah, definitely. Football.
I mean, towards the end, I think he was more excited about those kids winning that championship than him winning a pro card.
Yeah,
I can picture that video of him jumping when they won the championship.
Yes.
Jumping in the air.
You see it I mean, he had his phone out. Man, he was.
Yeah, I mean, he was happy that he won the pro card, but he wasn't ecstatic about it. It's like, this is something I've worked so hard for. I mean, you thought that he would have been like, oh yeah, like the greatest thing in the world, but it was not even. I think it was just like, finally, I got what I've worked so hard for. I don't want to say he wasn't.
It was almost
unappreciative.
Like a different type of happiness, almost.
Yeah,
and the football thing as well. Like he could do that with his family, and his kids were involved, so he was proud of them. Yeah, you know what I wish is he could have seen them play the next year, because Alexander got big. His voice is getting deep, but then Jonathan turned into a superstar.
Yeah.
Like over a year.
He got the confidence, and all of a sudden he's like the starting safety linebacker. Like it was a world of difference as far as his football performance.
Because the year before it was like he would do some things, like man, that was pretty good. But then the next year it was like, oh, where's this kid gonna go to college? Like I mean, he's good now, real good. But I definitely would say the football stuff for sure.
One of these, I'm just kind of flipping through some of these here. One of them is what was his business strategy, and I don't want to go deep into that, but his business strategy was just he wanted to. He obviously wanted to help people. I mean, that's why the YouTube channel and all that other kind of stuff kind of turned into what it was, and it became a passion for him about it because it was reaching more people, being able to help more people. Yeah. So that was kind of all that. But towards the end, it was more. How can I do, because business is business, there's a lot of administrative stuff that goes along with it. It's how can I get rid of like a lot of this stuff so I can just do more of this football thing.
Football and it was like football, the community, it was more about like that. Yeah.
So what he was trying to do towards the end was to create almost an exit strategy so that all he wanted to do was the YouTube channels to work with the favorite clients, like a handful of favorite clients, and football. Yeah, that was it.
He was like on the transition.
He was getting there. Everything was moving there. All the side hustles and all that. I think that's what
made his like passing very hard, because I think that we knew that a little bit, that he was trying to just transition.
Yeah.
Which is like, man, it sucks that it happened right now.
Yeah, it was close. It was close, man. It might have been a few years out. But it was John too, so there could have been a pivot where, hey, there's this opportunity I want to, but I don't know though, man, because he was really pretty set on the football thing and, all that and, trying to map everything out, for that.
With my conversations with him, it was football was always the first love, the first, like it was like you didn't, a lot of people didn't realize that, but that was always the goal, man. He when he was a kid, it transitioned because it became a reality. It transitioned to like, him seeing the superheroes and whatever the magazine was when he was 11. But he wanted to go pro playing football, and like this was his way to basically experience that, was to coach.
Mm-hmm. All right, so flip through here. What was John's greatest strength as a coach? I think caring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't feel like
even as a person, I think that like every person, it always seemed like everybody who met him was like blown away, how like we kind of talked about how humble, how nice, and it was like he made you feel like you were his best friend after the first 4-minute conversation you had with him.
Yeah, he did that with everybody too.
Yeah.
Even if it was during, like there's a time to like approach someone at the gym, I think, like if they're training in the middle of something, I would like just leave them alone. But people would come up to him during training all the time and he wouldn't act any different. He'd be very nice to everybody. It wasn't like, wait till I'm done with this set or anything, which maybe they should have, but he didn't. He was just very nice and polite and respectful to everybody all the time.
Like that was how I first met him. It was where I'm on the hack squat and I don't know, I'm doing something ridiculous like 10 sets of 10 or something. So I think I probably was there too long. So he finally came over. He came over and just asked to work in with me. And then in my head, the way I remembered, it was like we had like a 30-minute conversation about training and all this. And like I didn't know who he was, but I was always a fan of bodybuilding. And I was like blown away. I was like, this is the nicest guy ever. And like, kind of how you would stare at you, like, he's not a dick like you would have thought some people would be like. And just, I had the same experience that everybody else would have had with him. Yeah. And that would have been 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah. How did you first meet John?
He's been around since I was I call him Uncle John. He's not my blood uncle, right? But he's one of those guys that like.
Well, he knew your dad.
Your whole family history.
So basically knew my dad before I was alive, I believe. Like
They have some fun
stories.
There's some shit we're not going to talk about. We're not talking about that. But John had a wild time.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of that was with your dad.
Yeah.
So we'll just leave that with what it is.
I thought your dad was the one that got him to West Side. Is the way I remember the story.
Maybe.
I believe that's how it went. Yeah, but so I just remember I would go over to, my dad would bring me to John and Aunt Mary's house before they moved to this one, obviously. And I was real young, but he'd be like, "Do you guys want a popsicle?" And I was like, "Oh man, I want to look like this guy. I don't want no popsicle. Take me to the gym or whatever." But so that's kind of how it started. And then as I got older, oh man, I mean I was really, really, really young then. But as I got older, I was like, "Dad, I really want to train with John or whatever." And he's like, we'll see, whatever. So then finally talked to him, and he's like, "Yeah, bring him out." And he come out to Lifetime. That was the first time I went out there. And I just remember being like, man, this guy is so, like, all these people were like coming up to him and talking to him, and he's like taking time out of his day just for me. And then after that, I was like, man, this is really fun. So it motivated me. But then it wasn't until I went, like I said, the 2016 Arnold Classic with my dad, watched him do that, and I was like, no, this is what I want to do. Cause just the when he got up there, the way that he looked, I didn't know what it took to look like that, obviously, but I just remember the whole place just like went silent, then it went crazy. And by the way, little side note, so my show in 5 weeks is dedicated to him and Aunt Mary and the kids and stuff, but the routine is going to be very cool. It's a very cool. I know you're going. If you'd like to go, you're going to love it. Aunt Mary's going to go. The boys are going to go. I'm very excited because it's dedicated to him. The routine is very thought through, so I'm very excited to like show that I've been working on it for like a few months now. So, but it's going to be very cool.